Okay, well, let me take a look. I'll give you a call this, tomorrow. You're on the phone.
I'll get your copy before you leave.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, you're right.
We're streaming now, guys. Streaming. Sean, is your do you have a microphone?
I do.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure. You're pretty important.
It is,
Only because it's your first night.
yeah, I'm only in.
It's so dark in here. Is it just dark?
Yeah. The different lighting.
There's two sets of lights that are working. Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, what time?
Megan's not coming tonight?
No, she's not coming this meeting or next. She's got a class, a law class she's got to go to.
Well, kids are helped us with the lines, Halloween party with school kid. He was young. He said, Chad Morris.
You ready, Karen?
Yep, I just was waiting for.
The what?
Okay, we're going.
We're ready?
Gentlemen?
Bill?
Hey, Vince, how you doing?
Are you ready? You got your mic on?
Gotta get that. Wait a minute.
Town of Vernon Plan Commission for Wednesday, November 8th, 2017, 6 p.m. Call to order. All rise for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Chairman Thomas Byrd,
Present.
Supervisor Commissioner Jeff Millies,
Present.
Commissioner Merle Wagner,
Present.
Supervisor Commissioner Bill Craig,
Present.
Planner Sean Malarkey.
Present?
Mr. Chairman, do you have a quorum of your Plan Commission? And note for the record that you have Supervisor Gary Wildy and Supervisor Ed Moline in the audience also, so you also have a quorum of your town board.
Okay. Open meeting compliance.
Mr. Chairman, the agenda was posted inside and outside the Vernon Town Hall to the media, to businesses within the town of Vernon. The town of Vernon website, you're in full compliance with the open meetings law.
Thank you. Chairman reads notice. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be conducted by the Town of Vernon Plan Commission to consider the application for a conditional use permit for a commercial kennel application for Canine Country Club, LLC, tax key number VNT 2017999. Property is located at South 64 West 22000 West National Avenue, Waukesha. The property is located in the town of Vernon. The legal description is as per the agenda, and the owners are Jim and Dawn Zarkowski.
Close.
I was close.
Very close.
And the applicant is Canine Country Club LLC. All right, it is 6:03. Let the public hearing begin. So, Sean, you wanna?
Yeah, thank you. The petitioners are requesting a conditional use to operate a commercial kennel on the subject property. This would be new ownership for the kennel. A commercial kennel has operated on site since prior to county zoning. The last records we have are 1969 for conditional use status that was granted by the county. The property is 14.75 acres, and just a little history. The parcel was zoned R1 after Waukesha County implemented their zoning ordinance to basically make the commercial kennel that existed at the time illegal, to get rid of the conditional use status or the legal non-conforming status of the parcel. The first conditional use that was issued was for dog boarding, grooming, breeding, and training, 1969. 1972 was updated for the expansion of the kennel. In 1979, the conditional use was updated to relocate some kennel runs and expand the office. At the time, it was limited to 55 dogs and 55 runs. The conditional use was again amended in 1980 to include cat boarding and grooming. And in 1985, in addition, there was again amended to add an additional 43 dog runs to the existing 40 runs at the time, for a total of 83 dog runs. At the time, the county also granted a variance on the property because a couple of the buildings were closer to the east property line than it was allowed by county zoning at the time. According to Attorney Macy, the variance that was granted at the time basically runs with the land. So despite the town issuing, if they would issue a conditional use permit tonight, that variance would remain in effect as it runs with the land. So you would have to do nothing in regard to the reduced setback property line. And then finally, the property was rezoned from R1 to A5 mini farm district. And I'm not sure about if it was rezoned by the county or when
County
the town.
and town, when they did their master plan?
Yeah,
Yeah.
at that point. Gotcha. So as it stands now, it's A farm mini farm district. The commercial kennel buildings are still there. And basically, it's just new ownership taking over. So it's a perfect time for the town to issue its own conditional use instead of continuing the county's conditional use, as the town is under its own zoning at this time. It is conditional use within the A5 mini farm district. It has to have at least 3 acres per town ordinance. I mentioned the variance issue. Basically, what's required is if there's a building for animals or outdoor kennel runs, it needs to be at least 100 feet from the adjoining property line. The buildings do not meet that standard, and again, hence the variance. So, in order for the Planning Commission and board to grant a license for the operation, they have to approve the conditional use. The plan of operation, per my discussions with the petitioners, are for dog boarding, dog daycare, grooming, training, retail sale of dog food, toys, and related items. Hours of operation would be Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. The business would start with just 2 employees, which would be the 2 owners of the property, but potential expansion may be up to 3 full-time and 2 part-time employees at some point in the future. So they're asking for 3 full-time and 2 part-time employees now, so they don't have to come back in a couple of years for that. They're not proposing any changes to the site plan or the grounds at this time, except for some upkeep and maintenance of the property. In terms of parking, the area that's on site is basically 30-foot by 60-foot parking area with a single loaded driveway. About 6 parking stalls, which would technically meet what they would be required for the use of the property. But with, in the future there would be potentially 5 employees, not necessarily at any one time. The petitioners did state that as people drop their dogs off for kennel and daycare, they'd basically be staged. They would call in, determine time to drop their dog off, so they feel confident that they can manage the traffic and the parking on site. Signage, there's an existing 32 square foot sign out by the road which exists today, which also meets the requirements of the A5 zoning district. The current sign that's on there now is for the previous business. The application didn't mention any new signage, but it does require approval through conditional use or site plan of operation. So we don't have an actual proposed sign at this time, but I would recommend that as one of the conditions that actually isn't in here that we'd add is approval of a change in sign copy for the new business, as long as everything else remains the same with the sign. And that's it. So I have a list of conditions here. There are a list of 18 total conditions. Most of them are standard conditions. I guess I'd highlight a few of them here. Condition 4, after speaking with the petitioners on their plan, the uses that would be part of the conditional use would be the single-family residence, the office, dog boarding limited up to 50 dogs at any one time, daycare limited to 25 dogs at any one time, grooming, training, the indoor and outdoor kennel runs, and then the retail sale of dog food, toys, and related items. The conditional use would also limit the number of indoor and outdoor kennel runs to a combined total of no more than 60. And then that the conditional use approval would also reflect the employees as 3 full-time, 2 part-time employees, the hours Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then the approval would recommend or reflect the minimum of 6 parking stalls for employees and customers. And then in addition to that, again, the condition of approval of change in sign copy as long as the rest of the sign stays the same on the property.
What number is that item, that sign copy?
That one is not in there. That's one that I was adding after the fact. So
Okay.
if
Would
these
that
were
be
approved, we have to add that one
A
in.
new 18 and then 18 would become 19?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something I caught after the fact,
Okay.
that the sign was not
Okay,
correct.
are you complete?
That's it.
Okay. So, the conditional use request, applicant seeks a conditional use for a commercial kennel. The property is an 85 mini farm district, zoning district standards. Consideration of the conditional use permit includes a review of the site and architectural plans. With that being said, we'll open it up to the floor. Are there any comments from the public on this hearing? Any comments from the public?
Mr. Chairman, I need to note for the record that Mr. Alan Walters, who is one property in between the proposed Canine Country Club, Mr. Walters' address is South 65, so West 22240 National Avenue. He wanted me to state for the record, he's in the hospital, but he wanted his statement to be in the record that he fully supports everything that the petitioners are requesting in their quest to receive a commercial kennel license. So I did promise them I'd put that in the official record. And there were no adverse calls in regards to their request also.
So are there any people here that want to comment in the public hearing? Any comments from the public? Let the record show there were no comments from the public hearing. All right. At 6:11, we're going to close the public hearing. Item 6, miscellaneous matters. Following matters will be discussed and possible action taken by the Town of Vernon Plan Commission. Item 8, conditional use permit for a commercial kennel application for Canine Country Club LLC. Owners Jim and Dawn Zarowski. I'm getting better at it. Tax key number VNT 2017999, property located at South 64 West 22000 West National Avenue, Waukesha. Gentlemen, any comments?
I had a couple of questions. I thought I read previously that they were not allowed to sell off any portion of that land and keep the kennel license. Is that still in effect under this corner?
That was a condition of the county at some point that it could not be
Yeah.
divided. I did not include that condition in here since our requirement is 3 acres or more for a kennel. But if that's a consideration, we can certainly have that.
I was just confused. I didn't know what was being carried over. If
That was
still
only
included or
only
not.
the
Okay.
conditions you see here are the ones being
Okay.
carried over.
Because the number of dogs and stuff changed a couple of times in there.
It did. It went back and forth.
And the petitioners are satisfied with the current number?
They are, and actually the current number is less, is
Yeah.
less than it was at some point in time.
Is it in operation right now, Sean?
I actually don't know the answer to that.
It was in operation up until the previous owner passed away in August.
Oh, August, okay. What is this automatically grandfathered? Because the 85 would be a 5-acre minimum, this is 4.75?
14 point
Oh, 14, I'm sorry,
Mhm.
okay. Is that a dividable parcel line?
But it could be, yeah. The other thing I would add is that when the variance was originally granted for the reduced setback by the county at the time, the arguments that were made were the fact that the high-tension power lines were to the east, and that neighboring property isn't, it's probably not developable as residential due to the high-tension power lines. And there's a buffer there. There's basically a tree line that protects the property to the east either way. So it's pretty secluded in terms of trees and visibility.
And the city of New Berlin is right,
Yeah, that's the city.
Right
of
next
Berlin,
door.
Just east.
Oh, anything else, commissioners? You wanna add anything in there, Jeff, or just,
No, I'm fine with it, I just wanted to clarify if that was.
okay?
And if that's something that you think is important, we can certainly have that as a condition.
No, we have it now where it's 3 acres, I'm fine with that, so it's.
Okay. So any other comments, commissioners?
No.
Is there a motion?
I'll move that we approve the conditional use request and subject to the conditions described by our planner.
With the addition of the sign?
I'm sorry?
With the addition of the sign copy change? Because that one is not listed.
and point of clarification, is that approved by the plan commission or the staff or?
I would just say, normally because any sign request requires a site plan of operation, this essentially is the site plan of operation. We haven't seen their sign yet, but the existing sign structure exists. What I'm saying is just, let's say, let them change the copy on the sign, nothing else involved with the sign, since we haven't seen it. Let it go with the signed copy, and then the plan commission and board will approve that now.
Right. Because you have the, in there, the 32 square feet.
Right, so they're not, yep,
So that stays the same. When you put that in a verbiage, kind of write that in there.
32 square feet
Then the
maximum.
32 square feet
Sure.
is the, with the copy existing. Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it.
You're done. We'll call you about getting all the paperwork. Okay?
Good luck.
Thank you. Should bring your dogs on over now.
I think you should bring your goat.
Yeah, well, we're not approved for goats.
It was a neighbor's goat in New Berlin.
That's our pet. Thank you.
All right. Item 7, consideration to initiate a petition to amend the current zoning for Enterprise Business Park from conditional UP Business Park zoning to Business Park zoning, as well as other possible changes to the zoning code to deal with issues in the BP Business Park zoning district.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to state for record, one of those P's should have been a 3. There's a typo there. So the plan, I did talk to the attorney. You have, full rights to talk about the existing conditional B3 to a possible B3 zoning. Just wanted to state that, Mr. Chairman.
As I was reading it, I was wondering why that was in there.
There's a lot of Bs
But
in it.
I was, that's, okay, come on. Oh, so, Madam Clerk, you were chairman at that time. So, if you want to give a background,
Yeah, I just wanted to state for the record, when this proposal came to the Plan Commission years ago, it was vacant land, and the Plan Commission was very concerned about having a higher quality of buildings and clientele, and they were very concerned about the type of development for the future for the town of Vernon. So that was the reason to put the conditional B3, because at that time, we wanted to limit the type of business, have control. We developed other ordinances to control the type of development. So that's why years ago, the town of Vernon was pretty restrictive in regards to what the Plan Commission and Town Board foresaw in that area. So I just wanted to explain that why you saw all those conditions was to bring a higher level of development and businesses to the town of Vernon. And I think by the businesses that are there, the buildings that are there, the type of businesses, I think the town of Vernon was very successful in developing a very nice business park. And now I'll let Sean take over.
So, what's basically being discussed is the existing B3 zoning with conditions. We're entertaining the possibility of rezoning it to B3 without the conditions. I guess just a couple of points that I want to make about this is the fact that this went through a couple of amendments. So the first amendment that was made was for outdoor storage, and I guess I have a question about that. So what exactly was what was changed in regard to outdoor storage for this property? Is it basically carte blanche, or is it outdoor storage during the day and brought in at night?
You mean for when we recently did the amendment?
Yes.
The outside storage was, I mean, there was absolutely no outside storage.
Previously,
Right.
And now,
So, yes.
and now it's what?
It's allowed.
It's allowed without qualification?
I don't think Vince, is there any conditions on the outside storage?
Well, basically for the outside storage would be, we would allow outside storage, but it would be incorporated with site plan of operations. So
Oh,
when
yeah.
he came to the plan, if you remember correctly, he came to the plan commission, defined his area of exterior storage and how he was gonna shield it from the public view.
Sure. In chapter 144 of the town ordinance, basically says no outdoor storage unless it's approved, and
Right.
so that's...
So everything that, any outdoor storage and the shielding thereof, or fencing thereof, or
Yeah.
containment thereof, would come to the plan commission for approval.
Sure. So I guess my only concern with this is that right now the approval, the conditional zoning on this, even though the town has its own zoning ordinance, the old conditional zoning applies. So all the uses that were enumerated in that conditional zoning apply. There's some of them, if you got rid of the conditional B3 zoning that was in place at the time and replaced it with straight town B3 zoning now, some of the uses that were in there would no longer be allowed that were there before. Now, obviously, the park is built out as it stands now, so those uses are grandfathered in regardless, but we don't want to create any legal non-conforming uses either, because that creates headaches as well. And I guess the only ones that I had concerned about were contractors' facilities for electricians, plumbers, heating contractors, etc. That is one of the permitted uses now under the conditional zoning. Under the B3 zoning, I don't know that that exists as a permitted use in B3. They do have in B4 and BP, B4 and business park zoning allow contractors' yards, and also a conditional use in industrial district. Commercial food production distribution isn't listed anywhere in the B3 zoning, so those two would no longer apply potentially. Again, contractor's yard is currently conditional use in the conditional B3 zoning. but that's only allowed in I-1, it's not allowed in the current town B3 zoning,
Is it allowed in B4?
no,
Okay, so it's
Just
just
I1.
I1, okay.
that's right. Testing laboratories, that's business park only. And then public and semi-public buildings, et cetera, that's only P1 now. So there's a few potential uses in there. And I guess the biggest heartburn I have is the contractor facility one. Because that's not necessarily a contractor yard, that's an indoor operation. And I believe there's at least one or two there in the park, aren't
There's
there?
several.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's my biggest concern. If you take a look at the B3 permitted uses, that one is not there. I mean, the B3 zoning district is essentially a commercial zoning district. It's not an industrial district, it's not a business park district. Now we have a business park district, we have an industrial district, which are separate. B3 is the general commercial district. It's not necessarily the same thing as what the park is at this point in time. So I think this needs further discussion and further research in terms of the uses that are there and what the impacts might be if it was a straight B3. And I apologize, I haven't had a ton of time to look at this. Basically this afternoon, I took some time because I didn't know.
Or could you tweak the
yesterday.
existing B3?
Well, that's another possibility, is to tweak the B3 or rezone to business park. I mean, that's what it is, right?
Yeah, but my concern, wouldn't your concern with the business park also? I mean, would there be any jeopardization of
Some of the
business?
uses.
Yeah, by the business
There
park?
could be. At least BP does talk about similar things to contractor facilities
In the new town zoning?
in the
Or the
B.
conditional B3?
Let me take a look at it. The BP, I mean.
Oh, okay. And you're looking at town, Sean?
Yes,
Okay.
because that's what we're talking about.
Right,
rezoning to
right.
town only.
And I didn't print out that matrix for them.
So let me just tell you some of the uses that are in BP. So for permitted uses in BP, business park and shopping center uses. Now, that, I think, is the one that's the catch-all, right? That business park uses are uses that are out there, whether it's contractor yard or it's an office, et cetera. That is not allowed in B3. That's only allowed in BP and B4. So I just feel like if you got rid of the conditional zoning on B3 and went to straight B3, you'd be eliminating a good chunk of those uses. They'd be grandfathered in, of course, but
There's gonna be two ways to do it though, so you could even modify, through our own zoning, modify the B3 zoning district, underline B3 zoning district. Or we could stay with the conditional B3 zoning district, but.
and modify that
modify the
further.
conditions, correct?
Except we wouldn't be modifying the county's version of it, because that's what's applies today, is
Correct,
basically the
but
county's version.
when we, if you remember when we went through this, and we changed our zoning, we did change our B3 zoning district to include this, whereas county didn't.
Right.
So we changed it to include, car sales, limited car sales, and car lot. In our underlying B3 zoning district, and the county did approve that. So, if we could tweak it, and there was.
So I guess the bottom line, what are we
It was
talking?
previously approved.
What are we talking about? The reason for the change is to what? To allow auto sales or consider
Well, we're
auto
just
sales?
talking about it.
Limited.
These guys are the guys who are
But
gonna.
but that's the reason this is in front of us today potentially, right? Is to
Right.
talk about.
Well,
Yeah.
there is some confusion though, because in the underlying B3, it is a permitted use.
It is. Well, is it a conditional or permitted use?
It's a printed in a straight B3.
Right. So if we went to straight B3, that one would be allowed, but all of a sudden the contractor businesses would not be allowed.
Right, so there's a couple ways.
Right. Modified B3 zoning. modify make a conditional B3 zoning, redo conditional B3 zoning, or rezone to say business park, and do it that way. But under business park,
Or one other alternative is, and I don't know if you talked to John about this as far as unspecified conditional use, he said that we wouldn't be allowed to do that.
right.
Yeah, he said no.
His rationale for that is that you can't create one of those unspecified conditional uses if that use exists somewhere
I
else.
think there's some verbiage in here, isn't there some verbiage in here that has, I was just reading it.
A similar use. It talks about a similar use.
Right.
Not an unspecified conditional use, but a similar use. So if it said, you know, dog kennel, you could say, well, we're gonna do a cat kennel. That would be a similar use, but I'm not sure auto
Well,
sales would be the same.
Right, what I'm getting at is kind of, it allows for, lots for snowmobiles, boats, ATVs, four-wheel ATVs,
Right.
service to, repair to, which would be almost similar, maybe not clearly defined as automotive.
The determination would have to be made by the planning commission board that that's a similar use.
Correct.
I think that could be argued either way. Because and the reason I say that is because those two uses are listed separately in the ordinance in different sections. They're not listed under the same item, they're not the same thing. We list those numerous. Go ahead.
You know, we're the two people that we're talking about, my guy across the street and me, we're both selling motorcycles, and that is governed by the DOT. That's who comes in and looks at our work, you know, how we're doing things, and
Sure.
governs us. They're the same place that's doing the automobiles. It's the same paperwork. It's the same. Everything's exactly the same except for the vehicle.
Sure.
It's not the DNR looking at us. It's not somebody else. It's the DOT.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. And the only point
It's
I'm
not- yeah, I don't want to confuse the ATVs and the snowmobiles and all that with the DNR stuff. That's. I think we really should concentrate on the fact we're selling motorcycles here. We have since 2001 in this
Sure.
location, and the DOT guy's going to walk in and he's under the same. It's the same guy. He's doing the same laws, the same everything.
No, I definitely appreciate that sentiment. The only point I'm trying to make is that we list them as separate uses. If we thought they were the same use, they would just be combined into one use. Just the same way we list single family and duplex as different types of uses. We list different types of commercial operations as different uses. So if that's something, both of those arguments are something that the Plan Commission and Board need to evaluate before determining if auto sales is the same as motorcycle,
Right.
ATV, and that type of sales.
But understand, our verbiage in our underlying B3 zoning district does list it in that same paragraph, used car lot sales, vehicles, motorcycles. You know, so there is some of the verbiage in our underlying B3 that kind of lumps it all together in one paragraph. If you look
Yeah, I'm taking a look right now.
Matrix.
Is it written that way in the matrix then?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and it's on the first page where
New and
you,
used auto sales,
yeah, in the
sale of
matrix.
snowmobile, personal watercraft, that's true.
Number
I guess
3.
I didn't see
Tom,
that.
do you see it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we're listing those all under that paragraph.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So we already went through that when we did the ordinance.
For a street B3.
Right, B3, right?
So, okay, so that's one part of the equation. If you went straight B3, it would be allowed under there. The problem is, again, that straight B3 doesn't allow
The other
some of
guys.
the uses.
This is the burden.
Would the BP allow everybody?
The BP would allow,
I see it allows automotive, contractor yards, not contractor, but
it does not allow the auto sales. Only B3 and I1 allows auto sales.
Any of the board members remember, when we specifically talked about that, we were looking for a place that we could put it in. And I thought that when we did this, that we had talked about the only logical place would be the B3.
Well, can we put that in for business park? For an extra?
You mean to add it to the BP?
Add it to the matrix?
Sure, I mean, you could do that with any use.
Mm,
You mean rezone the BP, but change the BP zoning to allow the use?
Or have it as a conditional use in BP zoning. Because it's sort of an anomaly then in a business park only setting.
Yeah, I think so.
Do we have any other, trying to think, do we have any other BP zone?
In the town of Vernon?
Yeah, that's in the.
It seems no matter what happens, we're gonna have to amend one of the districts.
Mhm.
We're not gonna just be able to rezone it to any one district.
Mhm.
It's gonna have to be amended one way or the other.
Wouldn't it be easier just to amend the conditional B3 because it meets all the intent and the needs of the business owners there is now? It just has to be tweaked because they're not looking for used car lots. They're looking for limited car sales.
I don't know if we could amend,
Sure, we
yeah, we
did.
could, we
just did it
certainly
for-
could.
For the outside storage, so I would assume we could do it for,
Yeah, especially because it exists in the underlying B3 zone.
right, because then we had changed our zoning to allow.
It might be the easiest way to do it.
Well, commissioners, what do you think?
I don't have a problem with them selling cars in the business park. I just want to figure out the easiest way to allow it to happen.
Well, the other question is though, if it is allowed, is there a limit on it? Does it matter?
Yeah, you'd want a limit. You wouldn't want 1,000 cars. Not that you could.
Is there a
have
limit now to sales or outdoor display of any kind for other vehicles?
By the site
That's
plan?
all been through.
All site plan, so it would be the same thing, it'd be
So, yeah,
reviewed
so-
through site plan.
Right.
If it was amended, a conditional, whatever way we do it, then, assuming we would have them come in, refile their site plan of operation, then the board would go through, say, what they do, how many cars, where they're gonna be located, et cetera.
Mhm.
So the board would be able to put a limit on what they're looking for. I don't think either one of them are looking for a lot of cars at all. I think some of them are specialty cars, some of them are limited, that they have when they come in or take a trade or something. So it's not like a huge car lot.
Right, it's not gonna be a dealership.
Site plan of operation should be able to.
You know,
take
you don't
care of
wanna
that.
dictate, I don't wanna dictate their business plan, what they're gonna do, but they should be able to tell us what they want and then follow what they want
Mhm.
with a,
Keeping in mind, you still wanna make sure it's an attractive
exactly.
business park.
Exactly, and I think both of the businesses do a great job doing that. So what do you guys think? Gentlemen?
Worry about automobiles, so much more. Sub L,
A what?
in this section, right now it says, H says new and used automobiles. We're worried about snowmobiles, watercraft boats, and equipment. That could be separated out, and make automobiles separate. And you can put them in any district that you want.
Yeah, you help make the matrix, right?
I suggested this, yes.
Well, I think we did a great job overall.
Well, no matter what you do, there's always gonna be something that you didn't do or you should have done.
Why change it?
If you do a sub L on this, just put it on the
But
wheel.
is
No, and use
any
it.
of the commissioners oppose what those businesses are doing? Bill? Yeah?
No.
All right, so we're all on the same page here. We wanna find a fix. Okay.
That's one, make a separate heading on
I think that's what Nick wanted to hear.
What's that? Sorry.
That, there's nobody here opposed to what it is for the cars, it's just that we need to find a fix for it. The easiest one.
it.
And nobody opposes it here.
If you don't want cars in that particular, you don't put an X there.
Well, Nick's business isn't cars, it's motorcycles.
I know that.
That's what he wants. But he does take in different things for a trade or a trade up for. Have you ever taken an airplane in yet?
No. Boats, guns, coins, we've taken it all in, not an airplane.
So, what I think we should do is, we're just kind of throwing this back and forth, is let the planner and myself kind of sit down, see what's gonna be the easiest way to do it, and then bring it back. And bring it back as a specific item on the agenda for December.
As a public hearing?
Yeah, we'd have to do a public hearing,
Mhm.
class 1 or class 2. I think it's
Class
class
2.
1. Okay. You want it for, I mean, we can do it,
Yeah.
but Sean would have to write it.
Yeah, so we're basically just, and it sounds like the way we were leaning was to amend the.
Conditional.
Was to amend the conditional rezone.
Vince?
Yeah, I think it's the easiest way to do it. Then we're not excluding anybody that's specifically utilizing that permitted use in that district
Right.
under the B3 condition zoning.
Commissioners?
Well, my only concern is, and we have some issues in there right now, is when you have an approved use and you change that use, you've got to come back for approval. And those are some of the abuses going on right now.
Well, that's.
There's one guy in there, probably the newest approval we've got, still is not in compliance with what we approved him. So, that's my only concern.
Well, along with us getting it in there, then the applicants will have to come back and reapply for that conditional use. And then when they come forward, then we can, whatever other issues they have, we can talk to them on that. Like I know Nick's got a couple,
I'll be here next month.
so,
I've already got it filled out.
good,
Yeah.
good. So we can do it all with the site plan of operation and get it all taken care of. Okay, we got a plan. Any comment? Nick, you wanna make any comments or anything, or?
No, sounds like we're going in a good direction.
Okay. Vince, anything else?
Good.
Supervisors? Sean?
No, all good.
All right, so, we all understand what's gonna be going on with that? Any comments from the? Okay. It's like anything else, Friday, we'll get them all. That's fine. Item 8, Plan Commission approval for commission minutes. All right, we have October 11th, let's take the 13th first. That's the one first. Minutes for September 13th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from September 13th.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Any corrections? Bill?
No.
No? Good. Excellent job, Madam Clerk.
Well, it's like the 8th time they came back.
I didn't.
No.
You're not supposed to say that.
I'm sorry. I'm kidding.
All those in favor? Opposed? I didn't have it. October 11th. Any comments, corrections, or a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right. Adjournment.
So move.
Second?
All those in favor? Opposed? Meeting adjourned at 7:46:45.